Hello and welcome to the All About You show with OMG and Friends, where we talk about the things that you think about and some things you don't. I am your host, OMG, along with my co-host,
Daydream.
And as always, family, we'd like to thank you for joining us today, and we ask two things of you: that you tell your friends and family about our show, as well as we ask that you please join in on the conversation, where your thoughts, your comments, and your opinions help drive the conversation. Today our topic is This Is Not a Drill.
Mm-hmm.
This is our darkest hour, a sad day in America. Humanity finds itself embroiled in events unprecedented in its history, one which, unless immediately addressed, will catapult us further into the destruction of all we hold dear: this nation, its people, its freedom, our ecosystems, and the future of future generations to come. Our seas are poisoned, acidic and rising. Flood and desertification will render vast areas of land uninhabitable and lead to mass migration. Our air is so toxic it harms the unborn child while causing tens of thousands to die. The breakdown of our climate has begun. There will be more wildfires, unpredictable superstorms, continuous and multiple hurricanes forming simultaneously, increasing famine and untold drought as food supplies and fresh water disappears. Our world is being held hostage, in my terminology, by a domestic terrorist known as POTUS. His sociopathic behavior allows him to care for and about no one. His own family calls him dangerous. He seeks to have dictatorship like his buddy, Putin. We are sleepwalking straight toward the edge of a cliff where there is no safety net and more than likely no returns from the abyss. Let's talk about the fact that this is not a dress rehearsal. This is not a movie. This is not a dream. And more importantly, this is not a drill.
Right.
So all that we're seeing is it's all interconnected.
Mm-hmm.
We've been seeing it unfold over a period of time for those of us who have been knowledgeable, aware, if you will, woke.
Right, really paying attention.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things that go into it. And before we get started with that, I just kind of want to give a little background in regards to why we're doing this show. So we know about disaster prep, natural disasters, especially here in Houston. It's hurricane season. This isn't our first rodeo.
No.
We know what to do. Yeah, exactly. Like we just seen on the screen, Noah's Ark. I mean, that's what a lot of us have felt like the last few years in Houston when it floods, But I had a lot of reservations on some of the things that we're going to talk about and posting them onto our Facebook page. And some of you may also notice that we're not posting as much on our Facebook page, but we are tagging, and I'm doing a lot of tagging. I'll post things on my personal page and then tag the show page. The reason for that is Facebook's restrictions. Yeah. We have been severely restricted on to how many people we're allowed to invite for our different events, what we're allowed to comment on as the show, for different articles that are posted. We keep getting notifications that from their independent fact checkers that what we're posting is false or half truths. And I should have gotten a screenshot of that notification. I said, well, this is a half truth. Okay. I was like, what? Even on some things that I posted knowing that it was wrong information, it really was lies and fake news. And I noted that on the post at the very beginning. I said, this is fake news. Right. And we were still flagged for it. And in order to appeal that, you send a screenshot or you let them know, hey, I fixed it, or I did this, I did an adjustment, whatever. And you have to email them to whomever it may be, this independent fact checker. And once they receive it, that doesn't mean that they're going to lift the restrictions from your page. It's up to their discretion on whether they want to take that disclaimer off. Correct.
It's censorship.
Absolutely. It's censorship, and they're calling it fact checking. So there's going to be a few things that we talk about. Mass depopulation, mass power outages and communication outages. Okay. We're going to talk about that. Food shortages and what those food shortages are looking like, especially those who are out in the grocery stores looking at your shelves and you see a lot of stickers that say temporarily out of stock. So we're going to discuss that. We're also going to discuss how this plays into the elections that are coming up.
How everything is based on that.
Everything, everything.
From the pandemic forward.
Correct. And an intelligence organization that the government uses, and how information from there is going to play into what happens within the next 5 years. And again, people, within the next 5 years, as in 2025, we're now going into the latter part of 2020. So that's really in 4.5 years, less than 4.5 years, you're going to see a lot of things going on, and it's very, very scary.
And in your face. It's going to be straight in your face.
It's all been in our faces,
right.
And we're over here arguing about what is and what isn't. So thank you everyone who's already logged on and following along. Please, everyone, share, invite people to the page, do a watch party. This is pertinent information, and the time is here. This is not a drill, which is why we named the show.
We've been talking about this.
We have for years. We're going on 8 years. Mm-hmm. Right?
Talking about this to you guys.
Absolutely. So please send in your comments. Let us know what's going on. If you have a business who's noticed some changes, and like construction, remodeling, survival training, please, we want to hear from you guys and see what trends you've seen and when you noticed it. So invite, share. Thank you everyone who's been following along and who does share. We do appreciate you, especially because of these restrictions that we've been seeing. And it is hurting our exposure and getting you guys all this information. Even when we let you know, hey, something isn't true, don't believe what you're seeing on this, these are the real facts, and they're still restricting us on to what we're allowed to put
all
on
of this is by design. Even the restriction, the censorship, all of it is by design.
Absolutely. So before we really get into everything, a few housekeeping things that we want to take care of. Our virtual chair, our rotating chair, that is always open. This is why it's open, so we can actually have this discussion and answer all of your questions. So thank you again, everyone who's tuning in. Invite, please. And we, of course, will always answer your comments and your questions on the feed as we go along on the page. And so again, we'll get into all of that as soon as we come back from this short break.
Cancer is the most common cancer in men. About 160,000 men will be diagnosed with prostate cancer this year alone. Prostate cancer occurs when cells in the prostate take on abnormal changes, or what we call mutations, and can eventually turn into prostate cancer. Because most prostate cancers are asymptomatic, we recommend screening. The American Urologic Association recommends that all men aged 55 to 69 talk to their doctor about prostate cancer screening, which again consists of a blood test and a physical exam. Most men who have prostate cancer actually do not have symptoms. Most of the time it's diagnosed on physical exam with the digital rectal exam, or on the blood test, the PSA test. Advanced prostate cancer can present with difficulty urinating, blood in the urine, bone pain, weight loss, but that's usually not until it's very advanced.
The whole point of prostate cancer screening is to find early prostate cancer, early aggressive prostate cancer, when treatment makes a difference. So in that process, sometimes you'll find prostate cancer that's more latent, doesn't need treatment, can be watched and observed. But in that process, you'll also find aggressive prostate cancer managed early is curative. Late diagnosis in the process of disease is not curative. So it gives you this window of time to make a difference as far as cancer survival.
I am Marian Gaff, better known as OMG. I've just released a book for your information, your knowledge, and your pleasure, and for you to know that you have the opportunity to have that etiquette edge that no one else brings to the table. So with the new book that I've released, Image, this is a catalyst that will help catapult you beyond the average person who may have the same skill set that you do. You will win simply because you play to win. You get what you go for. And if you're going for the job, go get it. If you're an entrepreneur, if you're going to be the person that's in that particular field that has the charisma and the style and the class to move forward in their career, you've got to have etiquette training. You have to know gentleman's protocol. You can purchase Image at Amazon.com. It is on the go because you are on the go. It's to help you get the etiquette edge, which gets you what you want. We all like winning. Let's win.
There's all kinds of dangers.
Earthquake,
catastrophic collapse,
supervolcano,
total destruction,
EMP,
the end of the world as we know it.
Whoa. That's great. It starts with an
Let's go.
This is your emergency preparedness toy store right here.
If the world comes to an end, I'll be eating some good stuff.
The extent that my wife and I go to is probably, let's say, insane.
Commit fire.
That's survival, folks.
Here's to the end of the world.
I just want to be ready.
It would be like somebody instantly flipped the switch on the world.
All right. Welcome. We are back. You are listening to the All About You show, and our show today is #This Is Not a Drill. I am Daydream, along with your hostess.
OMG.
Absolutely. Guys, thank you again for joining us. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Again, invite, and share, please. As we get started, I think what we're going to kind of go into first is natural disasters. You know, we're all prepared for natural disasters. The commercial that you saw was for Doomsday Preppers. That's from 2012 when they initially premiered. We're now in 2020.
8 years later, here we are. Prepping is still big.
Right.
We'll have to talk about that.
Absolutely. So disaster preps, you know, we're used to natural disaster, hurricane season. So we know what it looks like for flooding. We know to stock up on our charcoal for our barbecue grills because we're not going to go hungry.
Absolutely.
Water. Obviously, toilet paper has been a big issue this year. You know, batteries, candles, type of stuff. So I believe you had some.
Yeah, be mindful of the fact that COVID-19 has also adequately prepared most people for what this looks like.
Right.
You know, from fighting over toilet paper, getting foods that you're going to have in cans and the last shelf life and all this other stuff, batteries, flashlights, the whole thing. So COVID-19 has pretty much taught us how to kind of remain in place and just kind of hunker down when you have to. So
and long-term hunkering down.
Long-term, yeah. So you should not be surprised when you need to continuously stay in this mode.
Right. This to me is going to be the norm.
It is.
We're not going to get out of it.
It's like the mask. You won't get out of it.
We're not.
Like the cell phone. It'll never go away.
It's not going to go away. These things are going to remain in place. And they prepared to let us know that it was going to remain in place. Why? When they talked about the Plannedemic with flu season and COVID. So there's just a lot.
It is. And
there's a lot, and it's scary.
It actually is. I had somebody tell me one day, not to mention I've always had people tell me, well, I don't want to know. OMG, I don't even want to know. So one friend mentioned to me that you ever think, OMG, that they don't want to know because they don't want the responsibility of knowing. That kind of impacted me. They don't want the responsibility of knowing, because once you know something, you cannot act like you don't know.
You have to
address and deal with what you know to be true, real, in place. So they don't want to deal with the responsibility. And it's not a doomsday conspiracy type thing. It's just being prepared, knowing what you know, and being prepared for it. Because trust me, the 1% don't really care whether you're prepared.
1% is taken care of.
That's it. They don't care whether you take care of or not.
Right. They're taken care of. They're ready. They've always been ready.
2012. You saw this show,
Doomsday Preppers.
Doomsday Preppers.
You know, and again, this was from 2012, and some of the things they talked about in there, EMPs, electronic magnetic
pulse. We talked about that. I mentioned it.
Cut off communication, Wi-Fi, internet. That means you can't use your cell phones. So those of you who don't have a landline, you're screwed. Even some who do have a landline, there's going to be communications cut off.
Oh yeah, well, I can at least call 911 or something. That's
absolutely,
because when the towers go down, and more importantly,
but can you call 911 when all the towers are down?
I don't know. They're not on wireless. I mean, it could possibly be, but I would think I'm not the only one with the hardwired phone.
Very
you know.
few.
Well, I'll reach out to those.
Right, very few. No, but
well, it must be emergency
but it's
services.
to put things into perspective
Yeah.
for you guys. You're not going to be able to use your Skype, your
None
WhatsApp.
of this. None of this.
You know, you're going to have communication cut off.
And even beyond that, you know, they're taking us to a moneyless, cashless society. All of a sudden, conveniently, cash has disappeared. Did you
Correct.
notice how many things that the pandemic just knocked out real quick?
Yes.
All in one clean swoop.
Mhm.
All the stuff
Hygiene.
all the stuff I was trying to figure out, how are they going to make this happen?
Right. Hygiene products, disinfectants.
Yes.
So you over-the-counter meds, those were already being, you know, locked up in the back.
Absolutely.
Locked up with plexiglass in those little units that they have.
And the plexiglass they put up at everybody's entrance right now when
Correct.
you go to banks and you go to offices
When you
and stuff.
eat.
Same thing.
Yes, absolutely. So
this is a well-oiled machine that has been in place for quite some time. You've heard all the presidents speak of it. It's not like it's new.
right, you know, before we were used to it looking like, oh, nuclear war, the Cold War.
Yeah.
You know, it's going to be just in our face. Oh my God, I can't believe it. But they have fed it to us slowly. We have been talking to you guys about this for years. And so we just wanted to put into perspective for you all what that looks like. Even with martial law, when this initially happened, again, I was called all kinds of names.
Oh.
I'm stupid. You're an idiot.
Paranoid.
You're ridiculous.
Yeah.
You have no education. I mean, just some nasty, nasty stuff. And, you know, it made me laugh because
they're the ones that's stupid because they don't know.
They don't know because we're waiting for it to look like a certain thing. We're waiting for it to look like, oh my God, there was this massive explosion.
Well, that's when it's too late.
Yes, when all of that's too late.
It's too late.
And what we're trying to do is prepare you for when you hear that mass explosion, when all of a sudden everything just cuts out. Okay. Or you see something happening across the world, like you see in the movies, like the day after tomorrow. Oh, it happened over there in China and everything. Oh, that's massive. And then 5 minutes later, it's hitting you in New York or San Francisco.
These movies are just a way of pre-warning you.
They're showing us exactly
you're not
what they're
shocked about what happened.
Correct. So when they're feeding it to us slowly,
absolutely,
we take it with a grain of salt.
Subliminal seduction. When you see it, you won't. Nothing awes us anymore.
No.
Nothing, you know, frightens the average one of us anymore because we've seen it all on TV, we've seen it all on cable, we've seen it in real life, we've seen it in other countries. So we're not awe-stricken by anything. So, you know, if something were to happen, the average person would pull out their cell phone. I'd still be one of those who try to help.
Yeah,
the average person will pull out their cell phone and start doing this.
Correct. And you know, it's funny because I didn't grow up with a cell phone. You know, I'm an older millennial.
Okay.
You know, so I didn't grow up with the internet like that. I didn't grow up with a cell phone, and it really was, hey, this is for emergency purposes only, and you had to pay by the minute, and you had to pay per the text. Remember, they were 25 cents
absolutely.
for the text, and it was 10 cents a minute that you're using the phone. You know, it was by minutes when we had those plans. It wasn't unlimited.
No.
So knowing that, even now, I was watching Call the Midwife, you know, and that starts in 1957.
Do they have a cell phone? Did you see a cell phone?
No, not at all.
I have to tell you about Dennis Menace.
Okay. Well, while I'm watching Call the Midwife, you know, I'm looking and getting all involved in the story. So I'm seeing what happens. And when there's an emergency, oh, hey, the baby's turned, there's this, there's that, we need to hurry up, go call someone. And my thing was, you know, there was a point where they were confused where they were going. And immediately my thought was cell phone, GPS. I had to reprogram myself. I was like, wait a minute, you're watching something back then. What would you have done when you were in high school and you broke down? Get out of the car
and fix it.
Fix it. Look around. Where's the business? Okay, let me go over here and say, hey, excuse me, do you have a jack? Do you have? It wasn't just.
It was a methodical way that you had to get yourself out of a situation that could be dangerous.
Absolutely.
So we're no longer thinking. Let's just say that.
Yes, we're all very much in action mode. And like you said, it's scary. It's something that has brought me or is bringing up anxiety, especially in wanting to do this particular show. When we started and with the quarantine and putting things out there, there was some information I put out that was from a government link, a government agency, and it was a video that showed the planning, you know, and I've tried to go back and look for it. This was in March.
It's probably taken off.
It's gone.
Yeah.
It's completely disappeared. I even had screenshots of it, and my screenshots are gone. So I remember where they were placed into my phone so I could have quick reference, and I screenshot for this particular reason, was in case it disappeared or it was taken off or some weird stuff starts happening, I wanted to have that.
Can't find it.
And I can't find it. I even text the screenshot to a friend and I asked him, hey, can you go back and look? And he says, I remember, and we can't find it. It's
and
gone.
You guys couldn't possibly be surprised by that.
No, because we talked about that. The Mandela effect.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, everybody thought that Edward Snowden was such a whistleblower. This man did all of us a favor by making us aware of what we should have known all along was happening.
Correct. He
put
his life on the line. He is still overseas on the very few occasions that he will put out some information. Of course, his IP address is encrypted. He's very much
threatened. So
absolutely. He has put his life in danger
to help
the world be aware of everything that is going on. And I will admit, initially, when you hear stuff like that, I was already kind of, hey, wait, I need to pay better attention. I need to start seeing, you know, what he's saying, connect all the dots. And so, yeah, it was kind of like, oh, okay, this crazy talk, those crazy people. Well, I'm one of those crazy people.
Well, remember we did a show. It was on George Orwell.
Yes.
Who wrote a book? Was
1984 and Animal Farm.
Okay, in 1984, he spoke of a time when exactly what was going on. 55 years later, when Edward Snowden calls up and, you know, lets everybody know, wakes everybody up to what's going on. George Orwell mentioned this in a book that was written in the 50s.
Correct. And the title of the book was 1984. So for him, that's the future.
It was futuristic, you know. And exactly what he said was happening in that book is exactly what is happening. So none of this is new. There's nothing new under the sun. The Bible tells you that. And you are actively in the age of Aquarius. Now, I know people sometimes get the eras mixed up, and they oftentimes think of the age of Aquarius. And you may remember the song by Fifth Dimension, not about water. The age of Aquarius is about nanotechnology. It is about when the internet hit. It is about when anything is wireless. That came in around 93.
Okay.
So clear, and the military had it first. They always do. And then when they have mastered how to hack and how to do all these things, like make your stuff disappear off whatever,
right?
Then they release it to us because now they've mastered how to get into it. So, you know,
and how to extract information
right,
that they want, that's to their advantage, and having us use it as a convenience.
Absolutely. It's always, you know, I know years ago when I heard the thing about low jack, you know, everybody was all excited. Oh, if I lock myself out of my car,
somebody steals it, I can get my car back.
I went to the exact flip side of that and conversely said, well, if they can do that, they can lock you in your car. They can control the car.
Panic room.
Okay. Yeah, so we're getting all excited about the things that are so minuscule when it comes to our convenience, when it's more about their pleasure,
right,
and their convenience and their ability to watch us like little lab rats.
Right. So, State of the Empire with Gene Hackman and believe it was Will Smith?
Yeah.
State of the Empire. IAmLegend.
All of these. iRobot.
iRobot. The Take with Idris Elba. You love me some Idris. And I just watched that over the weekend. But The Take. That
I haven't seen that yet.
Says a lot.
What was it?
On what we're doing. He's a CIA agent, and he is overseas. Oh man, my mind went blank on the premise of what it was. But it had to do with
all of how we're living now.
How we're living, how the government plays people. And again, they create the problem, so we demand the solution, and they play with our heartstrings. It's for your safety.
Oh my God.
It's for your loved ones. That. It's not about protecting you. Mask commercials.
It has nothing to do with
Look at the mask commercials that come out now. And I call them commercials. I'm not going to call them public service announcements. Okay. They're commercials because it is feeding their agenda. It is telling us, oh, for your safety, you know, you wear a mask for Juan. Juan wears a mask for Denise, who's his wife. Denise wears her mask for her 3 little babies. You know, they play
Oh, they play on the heartstrings from you're not being able to bury a loved one should they die of COVID-19. Everything has to be
Right.
done by Zoom. All these things were in place.
Correct.
The minute stuff happened.
Correct.
You know, you had all these outlets and internet, internet and
Yes.
connections to be able to do exactly what you cannot do. Go to watch church.
Mhm.
They've taken away everything that we need for solace to just feel.
Correct.
And we've tried several times to have this show psychologist come on. And also, one of my friend's sons is a mental health person. He works with a lot of people in the medical center. And you'd be surprised at what's happening. A lot of people are just flipping on the other side. Behind all of this anxiety, the stress, the pandemic has caused them
The isolation.
The isolation, that you can't hug, you can't love, you can't go out to your family.
You're cutting off people's support systems.
And
in their
we're
network.
on house arrest. Is basically what this is.
We are all on house
We're
arrest.
all on damn house arrest.
There's there's so many ways that I wanted to.
I know you don't know.
I don't even know where to start. There's so much information I want to give you guys. But if we can, on screen, we're about to show you Atum, our engineer who's behind the scenes. If you could please pull up the screenshot of the Deagle report.
Yes.
It has to do with mass depopulation. Yes, there you go. On screen, guys. Please take a look at this and pay attention.
Yeah, please.
DeagleReport.com. Okay, Deagle.com. Deagle is a government, and it's an intelligence agency that is used by the government. It is not only used by the government, it is used by officials all across the world. And you can pull up. This year is from 2017. Look at the population that's in 2017. 327 or 326 million people for the U.S. in 2017.
Yeah. Conversely.
Okay. So they have a forecast. The Deagle report will forecast business trends,
gross national products.
National products. Where do they need to go? What supplies, medical supplies, emergency supplies.
It also breaks down airplanes and aircrafts and missiles and
defense,
guns and just the whole thing.
What it's
the money that's going towards defense.
Correct. It is the order list of what the government wants when it comes to medication, when it comes to defense funds, and exactly what's being, what kind of fighter jets that we're ordering
on there
and obtaining.
I've noticed it.
Yes, all of that information is on there. What was very disturbing when I saw this was the prediction, the forecast for 2025. Look at the population difference for 2025. In 2017, we had 327 million people. It is forecasted that by 2025, which is less than 4.5 years from now, the population decreases, people. The population decreases.
You want to tell them about how much?
To only 100 million people.
Now, they have to have a plan in order to implement and execute getting rid of 220,000, 220 million people.
And that was just for the US. But if you look at the reports for the other countries, it is a mass depopulation on a global level.
What this is.
By 50 to 80%. I repeat, there is a mass depopulation expected by 2025 of 50 to 80% in every country. Every single country.
The same report basically states that that Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation is teaming up with so and so and so. They're playing a big part in this. They're offering anywhere from $250,000 to $2 million to hurriedly put together a universal flu shot and human testing set forth in 2021. Now, also, Bill Gates, if you know anything about him, he's always been big on the depopulation agenda. His father, William Gates Sr., was on the board of Planned Parenthood. Now, while that may mean very little to you, Planned Parenthood was the organization that was started by Margaret Sanger that basically started the term eugenics. Let me tell you what eugenics is. Okay? Let me give you the formal Webster definition of eugenics. The study of a belief in the possibility of improving the qualities of the human species or a human population, especially by such means as discouraging reproduction by persons having genetic defects or presumed to have inheritable undesirable traits. negative eugenics, or encouraging reproduction by persons to presume to have inheritable desirable traits. Margaret Sanger was the one who felt that Black people were not capable or should not be allowed to have children. Planned Parenthood was somewhat built on that premise. Bill Gates' father was on the board of that. So Bill Gates Jr. is only following, the natural progression of things and doing the bigger picture now by trying to help depopulate. If you plan to get rid of 227 million people in the next couple of years, is what this basically says.
Right.
Then you need to start thinking how all of this is playing out.
Right. And the other thing, and it is Deagle.com.
Yeah.
You're more than welcome
Please
to go
look
on
it up.
there
Please
and
do.
look at it on your own.
Spell it out for the
Deagle, DEAGEL.com. Okay. GEL. There is in Australia, I believe his name is Andrew Daigle. His is spelled differently. So don't confuse it. Okay, it's Deagle.com. DEAGLE.com. If you look at that report, it also tells you how they expect for that mass depopulation to happen. Suicide. This is from 327 million people to just 100 million. And you're telling me that the majority of it was based upon suicide.
I'm telling you, all of this that I keep wanting to talk about, the psychological effects of what this is doing.
We're cut off and we're in isolation. Okay. We have been deprogrammed to allow for this. This is a natural instinct. This is it's just a part of us. We need that. We need that human touch. There's a reason why babies in ICU and prenatal, that they need that human touch, that skin to skin, and they do so much better. There's a reason for that. That doesn't stop just because you become an adult. Okay. They've isolated us.
Kids are out of school.
Kids are out of school, so they're driving people crazy because you have to do something with all that energy and not keep it all pent up. Okay. Food shortages. You've cut off people's income. So now people have lost their basic needs. They have no shelter. They're losing food. They don't have medical care. A lot of these organizations, those who are saying, oh, you just want a socialist world. No, those organizations and programs are now, they were already reaching their capacity of what they were able to do with the little bit of funding that they were receiving. And all of that has been significantly cut down. So how is the suicide going to happen? Well, I don't have a way to provide for my family. I am homeless. We're living in cars. We talked about this last week. Look at the demographic around you of homeless people. Look how it's changing. Look at where the homeless population is now being seen. It's not just in urban areas. Look around in the suburbs. Look at shopping centers and pay attention to vehicles that are still there at night.
Did you notice how many homeless people came up missing after Hurricane Harvey?
Mm-hmm. The cleansing people.
And they were put on some FEMA barge.
And no one ever said anything else. They went out to sea and
that was it.
We never heard anything else.
So understand, people, you won't really have any government organization to provide you with peace and security.
Right.
That's going to have to come from you protecting yourself, your family,
right,
and all that you know to be true and dear to you, because nothing matters to these people. We have a POTUS in place that could care less.
Right, and we now have a Supreme Court seat that is open.
Yeah.
And that's another cause for anxiety. So we're really going to get into that and really delve into, just some other things, how your disaster, your emergency kit, you need to make some changes, and what else that needs to look like, because you need to be prepared for the long term, and you also need to be prepared for, boom, it happens right there in a split second, and you have to grab and go.
It's called,
absolutely. You have to grab and go. So for us females, we know a go bag, to put it cleanly. Us females already, we have a go bag. We know exactly what that means. So we're going to talk about those things and what you can find and what you're no longer able to find, or that's a lot on back order. We do have to go to a quick break. So again, thank you everyone who's been tuning in. Please share your thoughts and opinions. We would love to hear from you guys. Thank you everyone who's already been following along. We'll get back to you guys right after this.
You or someone you care about has been diagnosed with prostate cancer. This video will help you understand how prostate cancer affects your body. The prostate is a gland in men that makes part of the fluid in semen. It's found just under the bladder, in front of the last part of the large intestine, called the rectum. The prostate wraps around part of the urethra, which is the tube that passes urine and semen out of the body. Most prostate cancer starts in tiny sacs within the gland that make prostatic fluid. Here, cancer cells form from gland cells that line the sacs. Over time, the cancer cells can multiply and form a malignant or cancerous tumor. However, most prostate cancer grows more slowly than other types of cancer. An important risk for prostate cancer is age. Prostate cancer is more common in men over the age of 65. Race is another risk factor. Prostate cancer is more common in African American men than in any other race. The risk is also higher in men whose relatives, such as a father or brother, have a history of prostate cancer. There are usually no symptoms in early prostate cancer. However, as the tumor enlarges the prostate, you may have the following symptoms: difficulty starting urination, weak, interrupted, or painful urination, needing to urinate frequently, especially at night, painful ejaculation, problems getting an erection, blood in urine or semen, and pain or stiffness in the lower back, hips, or pelvis. Note that these symptoms may be caused by prostate enlargement that is not cancer. If you have prostate cancer, your doctor will need to determine the grade and the stage or progression of the disease. Each grade is based on how normal the prostate tissue looks under a microscope. The grading system for prostate cancer is called the Gleason grading system. In this system, samples of two main areas of the tumor will each be given a grade from 1 to 5. The grades will be added together to give the cancer a Gleason score between 2 and 10. The higher the Gleason score, the more likely the cancer is to grow and spread to other areas. Each stage for prostate cancer is based on the amount of cancer you have and where it's found. The stages are numbered from 1 to 4. In stage 1, the tumor has not spread outside the prostate. In stage 2, the cancer is more advanced but is still only in the prostate. In stage 3, the cancer has spread just beyond the outer layer of the prostate. And in stage 4, the cancer has spread into nearby tissues as well as more distant areas of the body. As you deal with a diagnosis of prostate cancer, continue to talk to your doctor and your cancer care team.
And we are back, guys. We wanted to put that information out there because it is Prostate Cancer Awareness Month, and we love our men, so we want to make sure that you guys stay in good health. Sorry that was so graphic, but sometimes it has to be in your face.
Right, cancer,
like everything else.
right. And that's the advantage to us being able to be on the internet and podcast this way as opposed to as an actual station. We do have a little bit of leniency with that, but cancer is serious and cancer is graphic. And prostate cancer is especially personal for me because that's how we lost my popo, my grandfather on my dad's side. So please, especially our men of color between the ages of 55 and 69, I believe. If you have not been checked, please do. It's very important. The same way that mammograms are important for us females, please, prostate cancer, your checkups, those are very important. So we just wanted to make sure to get that out there because it's kind of a silent killer. A lot of times by the time men are aware that they have it, like in the case with my popo, it was too late. It was already very well advanced. So just please be aware of that.
That's all. Yeah, know what you're dealing with.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, good. So we know when it comes to disaster prep, what we need, Especially it's hurricane season. So we have all the basics down on everything that we need. What we want to do is talk about long-term disaster prep and some things that we've noticed. You know, back in the days, and I say 50s, 60s, 20s, World War One, we were told and talked about bunkers, you know, and what bunkers look like and being underground. And we'd even have movies about those people who went underground because they thought it was the big one, you know, that was going to happen. And so they didn't have TVs and radio communication. And so after 5 years or so, or 20 years later, they come up from underground, and it's a completely different world.
There's
you know?
a whole nother world under.
There is. There's
a whole nother city under DC. I mean, a whole nother.
In DC, in Denver?
It's quite a few places, yeah.
The Denver airport?
And the Denver airport, yeah. That I wrote that down here alongside the Georgia Guidestones.
Yes.
When we were talking about depopulation, there are some rules, and we did shows on all this, but we're going back and rehashing information we've already done.
Right, and we're throwing some extra stuff in there because of what we've seen. Because at the time that we did the shows, we weren't sure what it was going to start looking like, but now we do.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, I'm gonna give you the very first rule. You know, there was some gentleman in Georgia that decided he wanted to put some information on 19-foot granite pieces, and it was written in 8 different languages, and it talks about governance and the establishment of a world government, population and reproduction control, the environment and man's relationship to nature and spirituality. Now, the very first rule of the Georgia Guidestones commandments is maintain humanity under 500 million in perpetual balance with nature. Again, everybody's going on depopulation.
Right.
2 is to guide reproduction wisely, improving fitness and diversity. Unite humanity with a living new language. Okay? Rule passion, faith, tradition, and all things with temperate reason. Protect people and nations with fair laws and just courts. Let all nations rule internally, resolving external disputes in a world court. Notice everything is going to be new world order. Avoid petty laws and useless officials. Balance personal rights with social duties. Prize truth, beauty, love, seeking harmony with the infinite. Be not a cancer on the world. Leave room for nature. Leave room for nature. And again, they're talking about getting rid of 9/10 of the world's population. If you're talking about reducing it to 500 million people.
Right. That is the world population, guys. That is not the U.S. population that we're talking about.
And see this, and they've put it in 9 different languages. I'm assuming so for post-apocalyptic rebirth, because when something goes down, they will have bunkers whereby the government can still come from out of that and still be in place.
Correct.
So they have the bunkers, White House and all those other
bunkers. Military they've
bunkers.
Always had bunkers.
Absolutely.
You know, back like you see the Pentagon, they're
secure bunkers, so that way the government will still be in place. But for the most part, they could care less about humanity.
Right.
And again, they've shown, and you can look on YouTube, you've seen pictures of Walmart's taking 18-wheelers underground.
Yes.
To major cities when they entered the 269 Walmart stores that went out of business for whatever reason.
Right.
Remember that?
Yes. And you notice Walmart's, the way they're set up, the garden center, I want you guys to think about that. The patio center, the garden center, it's
like a little jail.
It's an intake. It is set up perfectly for intake. Think about that. It has the chain link fence with the green screen right over it. You go in through there, perfect for intake like you would for anything else. Think about emergency shelters if you've been displaced by your home because of hurricanes, flooding, that type of thing. What does that look like? You go through the intake area, and then you're maneuvered.
It's like a triage. Then you get sent over here.
Go over here, go over there, do this, do that. Walmarts are all set up the exact same way.
But they took down 269 of them nationwide. And it took all of that. You know how much merchandise that is? From 269 Walmarts?
Right. Where did that merchandise go?
It went underground because Walmart trucks were taking it underground.
Because all of those people, those bunkers, they need to supply.
And that's what they're doing. They've supplied those places.
hygiene products, over-the-counter medication, canned foods, non-perishables. Do you remember when there was all kinds of salmonella and listeria outbreaks and E. coli outbreaks with all of our fresh produce at some point or another?
One of my friends, I have an 82-year-old Jewish friend that I see and talk to regularly. And she just got sick the other day for whatever reason, very healthy, you know, but come to find she had like a stomach virus.
Okay.
So apparently fresh fruits and vegetables coming from other places can now be handled by people that possibly have had COVID. We don't know. But and they told her that quite a few elderly people were getting sick from, you know, fruits and vegetables from other countries and all this other stuff. So we really need to be careful. In an ideal world, we'd grow our own.
Absolutely. But
Ideally.
if you've noticed, even with that, with the GMOs, Monsanto's, now you notice a lot of people, I don't have a green thumb. I've always known that. I have no shame in that. It's just not in me. Okay. My momo, my mom, even my niece is 11, and from a younger age, we noticed they're the type of people that they can just throw seeds in the ground.
Can do that. My daughter can do that.
And it grows. We had an accidental watermelon patch. Or was it? No, it was pumpkins.
Yeah.
An accidental pumpkin patch in the front of our yard because my dad was doing a pumpkin for my niece, and some seeds that, you know, and he noticed. He's like, "Hey, we got a little pumpkin patch going on." My momo, the same thing. Watermelon.
Yeah.
She would throw the seeds.
But you can't even find watermelon with seeds now.
Now it's seedless, or the seeds they die out. They dry out. A lot of things, like you said, are seedless, so we can't grow it on our own.
Seedless nowadays.
Yes. Hey,
yes,
home gardening. We've noticed those things are going up, and they put restrictions on those. Why is it that they immediately stopped the selling of seeds?
So you can't
when
have
the quarantine started
to grow your own.
Yes, and I know a lot of people have joined co-ops or have created co-ops. The bar system with their neighbors. Those little villages, your community. Hey, who can I barter with? One of my cousins, cucumbers, bell pepper, and I forget what else he had, but he had that for his family. And you know, those other of us, like my mom has habaneros. I think she's growing some bell pepper, or even my momo, the same thing, little different fruits. And it's like, well, I have these fruits. Oh, well, I have these veggies. Perfect. Let's trade. You know, so those things help and work out. So we need to start looking at that.
But when it comes down, guys, to prepping, there's a lot involved. But just from a beginner phase, you need to just have, let me give you the top information. The basic steps to prepping is to build a solid personal finance and health foundation. Get your home ready for 2 weeks of self-reliance. No lights, none of that.
And with this, we know, guys, it's not 2 weeks. It's not 2 weeks. If you have the room, if you have the storage, and get creative about what's important, okay? Where you can store things. I rent a storage facility, and so much of the things that I had, you know, I give out food, let me do this, let me do that. I don't have room for it. I do have room for it. I just needed to move some things around. Right. And luckily, my storage facility is very near my residence. I can actually walk there if I needed to. And I'm prepared for that. Because with EMPs, with the communication cutoff, again, we're not going to have any communication with people. No power, no lights.
Let me break it down to you. No money. Because basically,
it's useless.
It's useless because they're making the society cashless. They decided through the pandemic that they would take away coins. Correct. Now all of a sudden coins are gone. And everybody wants you in the banking system. They want you on an ATM. Anything
digital
track. Okay, because the minute EMP happens and the lights go out, there are no cell phones, there are no ATM machines, there are no banks, nothing.
Right. So with power outages, there's some things you need. What I advise, and what you're going to notice is kind of hard. Well, actually, no. You can still find these motion sensor lights, solar power motion sensor lights. Use those. Get them now. Think about where you can place them in your house strategically, and go ahead, get that nailed in the wall. So when it happens, all you need to do, let me quickly hang this light up, okay? Set them outside the window, on your patio. Get those solar panels charged. As far as motion sensor is concerned, put a piece of tape over it. Block off that motion sensor, because you will get your energy to last longer. Okay, it'll have a longer life, but also so that way you're able to use it when it's convenient for you. I advise you also get blackout curtains. Why? Because anyone who knows, when you're in a hurricane and you're flooding and power is out, what happens? Neighbors are looking around. Who's got power? Who has generators? Hey, you across the street, I see your lights are still on. Hey, let me.
You will become the first person that they will.
Think about the purge. What do? Oh, I see lights. Everyone runs. Let me hurry up and get there. And they're going to bulldoze it and do whatever, because it's about survival.
And they're making this happen. They're making this happen right now. I told people years ago, even with Hunger Games, all of that is a precursor to what is coming. And like I said, this is not to be doomsday situation. It is to just make you prepared. And also,
it's here.
As far as your prepping, you need to be able to leave your home with only a moment's notice. You need to have what is called a bug out bag.
Yes.
And then also prepare for emergencies that happen away from home. And have a home bag or an everyday bag, gym bag, whatever you keep. Start keeping.
You want one big duffel bag that's going to have your stuff in there. Okay. Your solar powered two-way radios, because you need to learn to communicate with people and know who you're going to be communicating with your family. Yes, but not when we have EMPs.
I know, I'm just saying, but it's a radio.
Correct. Not when we have EMPs. So MREs, those have seen a huge increase in sales.
What MRE is.
Make ready to eat.
Okay.
Military
rations.
Our veterans, our military guys, they know exactly what we're talking about, and it's actually some pretty decent food. There's a soldier fuel is a bar. It's a meal replacement bar, super high protein, all the nutrients you're gonna need, because food is scarce, and you need to be prepared to not be able to cook your food.
And there are two places we gave you before. We actually had them on our show a couple years back. I have food upstairs that'll last 20 to 30 years. I have powdered milk. The last new addition to my thing, I bought 6 packs of
LED lights,
headlamps.
You can also wear those across your chest.
Yes, I have those. I have flashlights. I've got there's a whole. You need to at least start researching some of this stuff. But again, there's a place called Wise Food Storage, and this is in Utah. Then there's another one called Thrive Life, THRIVE Life, also in Utah. I don't know what it is about the Mormons, but they have these.
They're ready.
Listen, these people are prepared.
Right.
Okay.
Heat sensors. That's one thing you need to be aware of. Be prepared. My understanding was even underground, you can't hide because of the way technology is. Social distancing and face masks. Facial recognition. That's what this is about. It's not about safety, because a virus, it can travel 30 feet.
No.
So 6 feet, it has to do with your GPS, your phone. Think about when you're trying to GPS your location. Oh, it gave me the general area. And sometimes it'll pinpoint exactly where you're at. And other times you got to kind of find it. It kind of floats around everywhere. With everyone covered up, face mask, that's a disguise, right? Is it not? So they now, body recognition, body scanners at the airport, people, facial recognition and body scanning, what they're doing is they're fine tuning the technology that they have so that we're not able to hide. So when I am trying to be underground and off the grid, they're still going to, with their satellites, able to look and see, there she is, because this is her body scan. Everything went in together. What I would advise, and I have a hard time doing, there's no way to not function without your phone. It's just not possible.
But they created that need. We had the Amish. I don't think they have any of this stuff.
Yeah, they still do everything.
They have no cell phones, none of that.
Correct.
No TV, none of that.
And your bag needs to be ready for your environment. I don't need to have a pair of snow boots or snow gear here in Texas. I do if my plan is to head north when all of this hits the fan. Okay. The body scanning, facial recognition, those cameras went up back in the 80s. Those had been up back in the 80s. We were told about it. We weren't, it's not important. Just do it under the radar, because we didn't have internet. So not everything was all in our face.
Right.
And then when 9/11 happened, people felt better about those cameras being put up, those whose job was to put that up in the 80s.
Even that
but they fed it to us, because even that wasn't what it was. That was a setup.
All of it.
Okay, that was all a ploy.
All of it was to perpetuate where we are now.
Right. Night vision goggles. That's something that you want to have, because with martial law, military, we need to be prepared in that sense. Your tactical gear. There has been an increase in the sales of tactical boots.
I can believe it.
I was looking and trying to find what I could waterproof. Okay. And I was told, those of us who know, we go to the Purga, we go to Traders Village here in Houston on 290. And I was asking for tactical boots because online there's a back order. We're out of stock. We don't have it, or they went up to like $300+. Okay, something that was $60 went up to $300. And the man there, right, the gentleman there was like, that's funny. He goes, I've been getting a lot of requests from women, and it's not just because we're going into industrial fields. We're and having to find different jobs and everything else. And my dude was just like, tactical boots. He's like, well, don't you think that's kind of too much? And it's a little bit of overkill. And I promise you, I looked him dead in the face and I said, I don't feel that that's too much when I'm running for my life. And he got quiet, because I'm very serious about this, guys.
We all better be.
We all need to be. So you need to have your bag that's ready. You pick up one bag that's ready to go, and then you need to have your bug out bag where I don't have the time. I can't carry this one bag because I just need to just swoop and run out the door.
And also have a bag packed with your medical information. Your license, your insurances and all that. I don't know if that's going to matter, but they all say take your important papers with you.
Right. So let your family know where your plan is going to be at. And I hate that we ran out of time the way that we did. We are definitely going to have to do another show. One other thing that I want to make sure people pay attention to, I know that they've been given a bad name and a bad reputation. Your state militia groups. Please, if you're able to, get in contact or be familiar with your state militia groups. They are not the enemy, despite what the government has been telling us. And I'm speaking from my personal experience. I am speaking from my truth and what works for me. They are not the enemy. They are not. You can go to the website, the Texas State Militia. That is not the same as the Texas Guard. Okay, that's military. The Texas State Militia is a different entity. They are not government funded. They are not government owned. These are groups that are of the people, for the people, by the people. They are there to uphold the Constitution, our liberties, our rights. They also have a list of equipment, and it is not an all-inclusive. It's just things that they suggest. And if you look at that list, we do have it. I believe it's a PDF file that I sent you. Hopefully we're attuned. We're able to put that up really quickly. But if not, go to the site for the Texas State Militia, and they do have on there a list of equipment that they advise, that they recommend. Again, it's not all inclusive, but if you notice, there's a lot of tactical gear that is on there. They truly are prepared for war. And we seriously need to take a look at that and stop letting the government feed us so much nonsense. Okay. I was contacted when I put up that video that I told you guys about that just disappeared and I was not able to find anymore. And it had to do with what they were planning, like Agenda 21. Okay. After that, I got a lot of friend requests from people that I wasn't aware of, some suspicious looking accounts. One specific encounter that really got to me was I had someone claiming that he was 19 years old, and he asked me straight out, hey, where are you getting your information from? How do I know what's real and what's not? You know, what's your trick that you're using? And every time I responded to him, I said, look, my job isn't to think for you. We're doing this in order to make you think and for you to put some things into perspective, because my truth is not your truth. What works for you, that's fine. We just don't want anyone to be blindsided. And he continued on and was just like, but no, you know, I'm just wondering, like, how are you able to determine what's real? There's so much information. What trick do you use? I'm only 19. I'm scared. I'm just a kid. I'm a boy. Black. That's them fishing for information.
To find out what you know.
To find out what I know. Was that really a 19-year-old? Hell no, it wasn't.
Absolutely
okay,
not.
Absolutely not. guys, again, we are going to continue this on a different show.
Yes.
We're going to have to do that and get into a little bit more specifics. But water filtration systems, look at those. Powerless water filtration systems, solar panels, solar powered things, you want to get those, okay? Here's some examples of what those look like. Now, this one that's in the metal, it has a filter, even the small green one that you're looking at. Those filters, that one filter is enough for 10,000 gallons of water, okay? And you need 1 gallon per day per person.
Absolutely.
So just to give you an idea of how you need to prepare, guys, okay? We're going to put some more stuff onto our website, onto our page also. We're so sorry that we ran out of time.
There's so much to tell you.
So much. Just because the show ends does not mean that the conversation ends, okay? Thank you again to our sponsors. We have Sam Houston Race Park. They are open for simulcast. Go to www.shrp.com for more information and on their schedule. Again, September is Prostate Cancer Awareness Month. And so that's why we're bringing this information to you guys. Check on your loved ones. Take care of your men. You know,
absolutely.
Men, take care of yourselves because we love you and we want to keep you around.
Keep you around.
Absolutely. And as always, thank you to Image. Our show has been brought to you by Image. I make a great employee, entrepreneur, executive training seminars. Go to www.yourbizimage.com. That's your BIZZ image.com. You can also go to Amazon.com for Image, your etiquette rules on the go.
Next week, huh?
Until next week, and
we need to have another part 2 of this.
We do. I'm thinking we're going to continue this show next week.
We're not finished with you guys.
We're definitely not finished. There's a lot more.
You mean too much to us. We can't just give you part of the information and then go.
Absolutely. There's a lot more, and this way, you guys can give us your questions and information, and we can get down to some more specifics on that. Thank you so much for tuning in. We're so sorry that we ran over on time, but it's because we care. We talk about the things that you think about.
Until next week.